sometimes it's really hard to admit that, you struggle in organizing. But
Yes.
so people let us into their space and show us the room that nobody else sees, the closet that even
Hmm.
family members never get to see, the
Yeah.
financial papers that they don't show anyone.
Hmm.
And they invite us in to just help them, bring them to a level playing field and figure out life, really.
Have you ever met someone who was practically destined for their career even before they knew it existed? This week on Powered by People, I sit down with Rhonda Erb, a professional organizer with a deep passion for helping people create calm, functional spaces in their home and in their lives. I loved this conversation with Rhonda. The time just flew by and it was so energizing. And I think you're really, really going to enjoy it. We learn about how she got into the business, and there's a lot of practical tips and strategies in here that are going to be really helpful. So let's get right to it. Rhonda, I am so excited to get to know you a little bit better. I've known you for a long time, and we've crossed paths
Many
often,
times.
many times, but there's a lot that I don't know, and I'm a curious person, so I think this is going to be
Well,
fun.
thank you for inviting me to be here today. I'm very excited.
Yeah. I often like to start kind of getting to know who was Rhonda when she was a girl. Like, did you grow up in the area? Do you have siblings?
Yes, so I grew up in New Hamburg, moved
Okay.
all the way to Tavistock when I was newly married, and then Baden. So I have always been in this area for my whole life, and I do love small town. I am not a big city girl. And yes, I have two siblings. I have an older sister and an older brother. So I'm the youngest in the family of
Oh, you're
three.
the baby.
I'm the baby of the
Yeah.
family. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And what about your hubby? What's the dynamic there? What's his
Yes.
position in the
So
family?
so he grew up in Milverton and Tavistock. So he's kind of been in the area,
Mm-hmm.
and he has one sister and his parents. So yes,
And is
we've
he
always been
older or
very local.
younger?
He's the oldest. So
Okay.
the youngest, married the oldest.
Okay.
I've
Okay.
heard that that's a good matching. So
I've heard the same. That's why I was like curious. Although I
yes,
do know couples that have broken that pattern and they're
yes,
fine, but
yes,
they do say it tends to, I think, be perhaps easier because you have
yes,
the different strengths.
yes,
So, yeah. Oh, wow. So you've been in the area a long time. I
yes.
actually have been off and on in this area. I was here
Okay.
younger, moved away, but then, I've been back in the area for about 17 years now.
Okay. When I got married and moved to Tavistock, my dad thought that was so far away. Like he was so sad that I was moving all the way to Tavistock from New Hamburg.
Yes.
And so it's so funny because I just love this area, and I just have no desire to move away from this area
Yeah.
because it's community. This is what I know.
Yes. Yes. How dare you move so far away?
Yes. And then I look at all the couples now, and there's, obviously people across the seas. And I'm thinking, wow, my dad would have really struggled if I would have went to a different province. But
Right.
yes, he was very sad that I went to
Yeah.
Tavistock. So
Yeah. Oh, that's sweet. That's
yeah,
sweet that he wanted you close.
he did.
So I know that you have like a couple of degrees, and we'll get into what you're currently doing, but you got your
Okay.
Bachelor of Applied Science and you got your Bachelor of Education. But when you were younger, what what were you interested in? How did you play? What did you want to be when you grew up?
Okay, this will be very interesting. What did I play? So I come from a family of chartered accountants. So now they would
Okay.
be, CPAs, but
Yes.
so I came from a family of accountants. So when I was little, I would play that my friends would come over and I would get out a file and I would do their
Yes.
tax return.
No way. This
Yes,
is
and
great.
my friends still remember that. I've always loved filling out forms since I was a little
Mm,
girl. So, being very like detail oriented, which ties into my career now. But
yes.
I would literally get out files for my friends and I'd fill out their forms for their tax return because my dad would have spare, forms everywhere. And so,
Uh-huh.
yeah, that's what I used to play. I used to play chartered accountant. And then I would say there was definitely teaching. I did lots of
Mm.
teaching when I was a little girl. I would, have my friends over and we'd do little classroom things. That was always something that I was interested in. But yeah, I was a very interesting child. Not a lot of children can say that they played
No.
accountant.
No, I don't think I've actually ever heard that. I think
Yes.
you're the first person
Yeah.
who I've heard
There you
say that.
go.
Yes. I mean, I did restaurants, and
Yes. Oh, I did
obviously,
restaurants.
checking out, like if you have a little cash register, that kind of stuff
Hmm.
is very fun, having a little store.
I used to
But,
do library. Library was another thing.
oh,
And I used
okay.
to get my siblings' friends to come in and pick out a book and then I'd sign them out because again, I like filling out forms. So I'd sign, their little I used to put little cards in the back of my books and have
Oh,
them come over and play library with me.
okay. So we've got some foreshadowing going on here early
Yes.
in life for what you're doing now.
Yes,
We can
very much.
see you're being very organized, you're very methodical. These traits are showing up, but you're going to have a couple little, slight sort of not detours, but yeah, not
Yes.
a direct path. Yeah.
Yes.
So, what was your attraction then to like applied science? What were you thinking you wanted to use that for?
Well, it was actually the program that really pulled me. So child studies. So
Okay.
I've known kind of since I was young. I've loved children since, and I used to joke about this. I don't know if it's too much information, but when I came out of the womb, I wanted a baby. Like
Mm,
that's how much it was. That was what I wanted to be. I wanted to be married and I wanted to have children. So that was my big thing from little on up. And so at church after church, I would seek out the little babies to carry around and I would babysit. And so I knew I loved children and I wanted to have a career with children.
yeah.
So I went to child studies because I loved that the degree program would also help me to be a better mom. That's how I looked at it. This wasn't just a degree for education, but I
Okay.
felt like it would equip me to be a better mom. And so
Mm,
that's what pulled me specifically to University of Guelph and the
mm,
applied science course.
mm-hmm. And did it help you in
Oh,
practical ways?
absolutely,
Yeah.
100%. I still highly recommend the program. I have one of my friend's sons who went through with me in the same program. Her son is now doing it, and it
Mm-hmm.
still sounds as wonderful as it was when I took it that long ago.
Mm,
Absolutely. All the stages of development and what is helpful for children and how to teach children, all of that stuff was in this
mm,
degree. So it was very practical. So that's what I liked about it because I knew again that I wanted to be a mom. So I
yeah.
didn't know necessarily for sure what my career was going to be, but
Mm,
this prepared me to have time with my kids, which I did make then the decision to stay home with my children when they were young. That was a decision that my husband and I made very early on that we were going to sacrifice the finances to be able to raise our own children.
wow. So we always joke that you, as a parent, you can't take a course or get education on, or most of us
Right?
don't, but I'm like, it sounds like you did. You did take
Absolutely.
some courses and learn some very
Yes.
practical things. Do you
Yes.
remember, does anything stand out to you as a nugget you learned then that you totally carried into your parenting?
Funny that you say that because I was just discussing this with somebody not that long ago. So I remember learning that it's really important to kiss your children, your babies, their heads. Because when you kiss their heads, the neurons and synapses are all firing, and it
Yes.
actually technically is to help them be smarter. And I remember
Wow.
learning that in child studies.
Yeah.
And you just ask anybody, like I just naturally kiss babies' heads all the time.
Oh,
Like, and we were
yes.
joking about
Yes.
this the other day because my daughter said, "Mom, you need to ask if it's not your child. Please ask them
Mm,
before you kiss their head." But then I was talking to somebody else, and they said, "Oh, they're discouraging that now, saying that." RSV, that you're putting your child at risk at RSV. And so,
oh,
you know what?
mm,
I trust and believe that my kisses are not going to, you know, cause anything like that. But I'm a still strong believer that kissing babies' heads is
mm-hmm,
very healthy and it
mm.
helps them learn and mature. And so that's the tidbit that I
Yes.
think of a lot still to this day that I learned at
Yes.
child studies.
Oh gosh. And you know what? I love that. And I love sniffing their little heads.
Oh
Oh my
yes.
gosh. Like just
Yep.
they just have this very unique
They do. The
smell.
scent. Oh, they do. I
It's
love baby smell
delicious.
too. It is.
Yeah. And
Delicious is the word.
And trying to not kiss. I mean, I respect strangers' babies for sure,
Yes.
but I'm very grateful to have lots of babies in my clan, and
Yes.
yeah, and parents who let me smother them with
Yes.
kisses and sniffs and snuggles, and there's just
Nothing
nothing
like
like
it.
it.
Yes,
No.
I agree.
Yeah, so that would be an exciting thing to learn that it's actually
Yes,
beneficial. It's not, I'm
it
not
is.
just being selfish.
Right.
I'm helping you.
Yes.
I'm going to tell the older ones that and see if
Yes.
they'll,
Yes.
the older grandchildren and see if they'll still let me smother them. No,
Uh,
this is for your benefit, not
yeah.
Nana's benefit.
I love that.
Oh, amazing. Okay, and then you took your Bachelor of Education
Yes.
after that
Yes.
and
Yes, I
then
did.
went into teaching for a period of
Teaching.
time.
I did.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a long teaching career. I was a supply teacher for three different boards, including the Waterloo board.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was hired on at a small Christian school. So
Okay.
I taught grade 1, 2, and I loved it. I
Mm.
loved having a really small, intimate class. I had opportunity to read with the kids every day, one on one, and
Mm-hmm.
that you can't get in the classroom nowadays.
Mm.
So I
Mm-hmm.
did that for a short time until, of course, I wanted to be a mom. And then when I had Kristen, then I stepped away for teaching for quite a long time and then birthed my new career, which was completely unexpected. Not
Ah,
something I anticipated. And when I was a little girl, I didn't say, I'm going to grow up to be a professional organizer. That just wasn't even
yes.
a thing.
Yeah.
And so I love that part of it too, that it's a cutting edge career, that it's something that I didn't know I was going to do when I was a little girl.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes. And yeah, let's go there because now that you've mentioned it, I think it is a very interesting career. Certainly people have heard of it, but I don't know that it's super common. And when I
Yes.
looked back and thought 2004 is when
Yes.
you started,
Yes.
I had no idea it had been that long. Like
I
time
know.
flies.
I know. I just celebrated our 20th anniversary last year.
Yeah.
I can't even fathom again cuz I still kind of pinch myself when I think that I'm an entrepreneur. I didn't grow
Mm-hmm.
up thinking that that was something I was going to start my own business, but to think
Mm-hmm.
that I've been doing this for 21 years, I love it. And
Yeah.
I'm just so grateful that I kind of fell into this and it's been so fulfilling. And yeah, I'm sure we'll get into it, but
Yeah,
I love it.
I
I
want
love
I
it.
want to get into it. So tell us, well, what you do, but how it even came to be. How did you like fall into it and meet your partner and all of that?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I was actually having a mentoring relationship with my who became my business partner.
Okay.
So Donna's about 9 years ahead of me. And again, it was all about children and raising family. And I looked at her kids and thought, those are amazing kids. I would like
Mm,
to have kids like your kids.
mm-hmm.
So, can we meet together on a regular basis? So, we did. We started mentoring. She started a mentoring relationship with me. And we started to read the book, The Purpose Driven Life by Rick Warren. And we were working through that together and kind of going through there. And it's amazing how many organizing references are actually in that book. But that wasn't
Ah.
kind of what led us there. But all of a sudden, through that book, we both realized that we had gifts that God had given us in the slant of organizing. And the funny thing is, I would say I'm a bit of a reformed pack rat. So
Oh, okay.
as a
Mm-hmm.
teacher, I kept everything because I saw the potential in it. I
Mm-hmm.
would see things. Um, I would go to thrift stores. I would go garage sailing, and I'd think, "Oh, my future classroom," and I would keep lots of things. And oh, I could use it for this art activity and all of those sorts of things. But it's interesting how, again, that has also evolved through my career as an organizer. So I'll kind of back up a little bit. So Donna in our relationship, she was looking to have a change of career. So she was
Okay.
doing home
Mm-hmm.
daycare at the time, and her family was ready to get their house back instead of having all the neighborhood children there, day
Mm-hmm.
in and day out in their
Yeah.
space. So she was looking to start a career, and I said to her, "I'm here to support you. Like, we're buddies, and anything that you decide that you want to do, you just know that I'm going to be a support to you, whatever that looks like."
Mm-hmm.
And so it ended up that my first introduction to a professional organizer was to our Mothers of Preschoolers group.
Okay.
So a professional organizer came, and this kind of tells you my personality. I couldn't sleep the night before. I was there, the first one there already. I was sitting in the front row. I was taking notes, and I was just dumbfounded that there was a job like this. Like, I just couldn't believe that. Oh my goodness, she like organizes for a living. That so the fact that I was a pack rat, I could find everything that I kept. Like, I would have everything in detail. Like, if somebody would say to me, "Oh, do you have the note that you gave Amy in grade 5 or whatever?" I could go and find it. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I was very sentimental. I
Mm-hmm.
kept all that stuff, but I could find it all. It wasn't that it was
Mm-hmm.
all scattered all over my house, or like, I was very organized in that way. And so organizing has always kind of been there. So anyways, this organizer came, and I was just lapping it all up. And after, Donna said, "Wow, like, she was an amazing woman, and she had a big family, so she had to be organized." But she said, "But she's making a living at this." And Donna's going, like, maybe I could do that. And I said, "Oh my
Mm-hmm.
goodness, Donna, like, really?"
Mm-hmm.
And she said, "I think I might start to do organizing." She had also done a workshop for the mothers of preschoolers on balance and life and all of that sort of thing, which tied in a bunch of organizing tips.
Mm-hmm.
And so she just decided, you know what, I think I'm going to start a business. Well, I remember her approaching me with that. And my mom was in Israel on a trip. It was a 2-week trip. When my mom left, there was no talking of starting a business. By the time she came home, I had to sit her down and say, "Mom, I'm starting a business."
Wow.
Like,
So it
it just
happened quickly.
it
Mm-hmm.
did. Like, all of a sudden I said to Donna, "I'll support you." And before I knew it, I was fully invested. I had no intention of starting a business. But again, I feel like God just kind of led everything up to that point, and we felt like God had given us gifts to share. And so we felt it was really important to start a business so that we could share and support the women around us, especially women, um, in this, and to be able to be wide open and share this gift to support them. Because we always joke that, like, we don't hesitate to go to a hairdresser to get our hair done. We don't hesitate to go to an accountant to get our taxes done. Then why do we need to hesitate going to an organizer to help us if that's not our gift? God gives
Mm-hmm.
us all these different gifts. And if organizing isn't your gift, then
Yeah.
it's okay to ask for help. And all
Yes,
of a
for
sudden,
sure.
yeah, Donna and I decided we wanted to provide that so that we could support women, mothers, families
Mm-hmm.
with organizing, because organizing is so foundational to life.
Mm-hmm.
And so again, I could talk for hours and hours about this. So I'll
Mm-hmm.
I'll kind of stop there and let you ask the next question. But I have a lot to say, because it's an amazing thing that God has allowed us to use organizing as a vehicle into people's lives. That's how we kind of
Mm-hmm.
see it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's amazing the vulnerable conversations that we can have around
Mm-hmm.
this, because sometimes it's really hard to admit that you struggle in organizing. But so
Yes.
people let us into their space and show us the room that nobody else sees, the closet that even
Mm-hmm.
family members never get to see, the
Yeah.
financial papers that they don't show anyone.
Mm-hmm.
And they invite us in to just help them, bring them to a level playing field, and figure out life, really. And
Mm-hmm.
I see it as an honor. I see it as a ministry.
Mm-hmm.
I see it as a gift from God to allow us to do this kind of career.
Hmm. I love that. And my brain is just going ping, ping, ping. I had about three different like directions.
Yes.
One, I relate in my role as life coach, where
Yes,
people let me
absolutely.
into, areas, discussions, conversations. And the word you chose is exactly the word that I choose. I feel honored, you know. The other place my brain pinged is just to put this in context for people who don't know. You started this way before we knew about Marie Kondo,
Yes,
way before home edit. So,
yes,
like, these things have become kind of
yes,
popular, trendy, which is great, and
yes,
there's now some Instagram things, like there's tips, which is awesome, but it's
yes.
become more trendy and fun. You guys were like the leaders, like way back,
Way
starting these
back.
things.
Absolutely. And a lot of our advertising just had to be educating people that there was a service. A lot of
Yes.
people look at us and go, organizing? Like, what is that? And it helped way back. There was an old TV show called Clean Sweep. And
Yes,
some
I remember
people,
that.
I feel
Mm-hmm.
like that was probably one of the beginning ones. Then obviously there's lots of hoarding shows now that people
Yes.
are becoming more aware of what professional, but that's what it was. It was educating people
Mm-hmm.
that there is a service that comes in, walks alongside them. Like I literally pull out, dressers, cupboards, garages, basements. It can be residential, it can be corporate, it can be going through filing systems, it can be setting up systems. So I have done a little bit of what I would almost
Mm-hmm.
like life coaching, sitting
Yes.
down with people's
Mm-hmm.
schedules and going, how am I going to get all this done? And to literally
Mm-hmm.
sit down, go through kind of routines, what can we set up? I've facilitated family meetings, with
Mm-hmm.
families where the moms are feeling overwhelmed and they need their family to get on board and to help. And so facilitating and seeing how family members can help. um, right to school board, that's another aspect. So I've been hired by the Waterloo board to work with teachers with health and wellness. Those are some of my favorite. So working with administration who's getting behind on deadlines, working with classroom teachers who have too much stuff in their classrooms, working with teachers like the reason we were pulled on in the first place was a teacher who was coming off of a mental health leave,
Mm-hmm.
just feeling overwhelmed in general. So we were called in to just come in. We figured out and helped her with her year-long planning, figuring out what that looked like and then breaking down a unit into lessons like that. Those are amazing. Like that, those are the details of my teaching career and my organizing career. And so those jobs are some of my favorite, because as teachers, too many teachers are reinventing the wheel,
Uh-huh.
doing all these things on their own, and to realize that there's other teachers out there and let's gain some support from them. And now there's like websites like Teachers Helping Teachers. Like I think that's wonderful.
Yes.
For again, it's teaching people not to be isolating, not to be alone in their pain, but to reach out to know that there's support, whether that's in organizing, whether that's in, parenting, whether
Mm-hmm.
that's in all of those things. And so that's what I love about this job. So I'm going to tie in my mission statement here.
Mm-hmm.
So it's to equip and mentor individuals to get their space in order so that they have the time and energy to fulfill their purpose in life or God's purpose for them.
Yeah.
That's why I love this job, because when people call me in, I'm helping them fulfill their purpose. Like,
Yes.
how exciting is that? I see too many people that are, the most hospitable person you've ever met, but they don't invite people in because they're too embarrassed of their stuff or their home.
Yes.
So, can
Yes.
we tackle that so that you can use your gift of hospitality and fulfill
Mm-hmm.
your purpose? So, I see clients that literally stand taller, that have joy on their face after they deal with their stuff, they organize their stuff so that they're in maintenance mode instead of
Mm-hmm.
drowning. Like too many of my
Mm-hmm.
clients are drowning, trying to
Yes.
get their head above water. But
Mm-hmm.
if we can, the key of organizing is everything needs a home. So
Mm-hmm.
if everything in your home has a home, then we get to work in maintenance mode instead
Yeah.
of drowning. And
Huh.
then we can quickly tidy, have our friends over, because that's one thing that COVID taught me too. It's
Mm-hmm.
not about our stuff, it's about relationship. And if our stuff is bogging us down so much that's keeping us from people, keeping us from going places, oh, I can't come on Saturday, I'm cleaning up the garage again, sort
Mm-hmm.
of thing. Or,
Mm-hmm.
sorry, you can't come over, I'm a little too embarrassed about my coffee table is full, or something like that.
Yes.
That's not what we're meant for. We're meant for community. And so I'm excited that my career, and the cool thing is I heard an organizer, Joshua Becker, is the minimalist. I don't know if you've checked him out. He's out of the US, and he started this whole movement of the minimalist and just having minimal possessions. He used to be a pastor, And so he has a lot of amazing things to say. But he said the cool thing about being a professional organizer is our target market is anybody. Like,
No kidding.
and
Yeah.
and that hit me
Mm-hmm.
like, oh my gosh, like
Mm-hmm.
God, you've given me an opening into anybody's lives,
Mm-hmm.
because everybody to some degree needs, like I say, I'm professional, I'm not perfect. You could come and look at my desk today,
Mm-hmm.
Wendy, and I wouldn't
Mm-hmm.
be the best advertising for Heart of the Matter, because life happens for me.
Sure.
And I
Yeah.
have lots of things going on. My daughter's getting married soon. We have lots of things, but when the time comes, it's
Mm.
easy to put away.
Mm-hmm. You have
Everything has a
systems in
home.
place and
Yes,
mm-hmm.
there are
Yeah.
systems. I go
Mm-hmm.
into too many houses where there's absolutely no system. So for me to have the opportunity to come in with anybody, any target audience, and say, let's figure out some systems for you, custom to you. There's no one way of doing things. And again, I'm a teacher. So, there's auditory, there's visual learners, there's kinesthetic. All of those things tie into what's best for us, even when it comes to organizing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, are you the bulletin board person because out of sight, out of mind? Or
Mm-hmm.
does it get to the place where
Uh-huh.
it's hanging there and it's always been hanging there so you don't even notice it anymore? So,
Right.
like, all of those little things. So, anyways, I could go on forever, but I just feel so blessed to be in a career that really I would like to think that there's something that I can offer anybody if
Mm.
somebody needs support.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I would wish this for everybody, this that after 20 years in a line of work to have the level of passion in that line of work, and that it is about helping people. Like you enjoy it, but you're serving
Yes.
others and you
Yes.
it's so rewarding.
Yeah.
One of the things that I really loved, so I've been introduced, I did years ago have you guys help on a basic project. And then I'm super into some of the shows. Like I loved Home Edit, loved watching.
Yes.
The ladies are they're so
They
sweet,
are.
just darling. And I was introduced to a book called Organization from the Inside Out.
Yes. That
And
is number one.
it's a great one. But one of the
It is.
things that I learned from kind of all of those things, probably you guys initially, is, and I'm glad you mentioned it, that it is not one size fits all,
Yes.
that you come in, and I like this in life when this happens, when you kind of look at, okay,
Mm-hmm.
how does Wendy or how do Wendy and Kevin, like, how do they move through their home? How do they use their space? Right. So you're doing this kind of, observation evaluation
Yes.
before you're suggesting a solution.
Absolutely.
And I think that's probably, if people haven't dabbled in it, probably a common misconception. Because I used to think, like, I probably wanted to avoid it, like, oh, you're going to come in and tell me, like, I have to have a file cabinet and like, I was resistant to certain methods and
Yes.
approaches, right? Because I'm
Yes.
like, I'm not going to use it. I'm not going to use the file cabinet. I won't. And then when
Oh,
I learned
absolutely.
that maybe I'm a hook person for my coat,
Mm-hmm.
maybe I'm not a closet, and
Yes.
that you guys customize and work with how we as individuals are and help us customize solutions. I think that is just the most appealing part that I hope people listen if they don't know. I hope they listen to this part of our chat so they
Yes.
go, oh, hang on, wait a second.
Absolutely. And I would say the majority of my clients are more pilers than they're filers. And so I know lots of systems that
I've
you
got
can
a
have
pile right here. Mm-hmm.
organized piles. Like
Mm.
like again, I'm not going to force you to become the filer that files everything. There's a time and place for lots of different things, but again, coming up with, and it's also part of asking, what have you tried in the past and it doesn't work? Like,
Yes.
that's huge. That tells me a lot. Going, okay, if that doesn't work, then we're not even going to go to that, because
Mm-hmm.
again, I have to go with people's natural tendencies, because of course we want to see success. So we're
Yes.
not going to pinhole somebody into a certain system if it doesn't work for them and their personality. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's the fun part of the free initial consultation too, is to come and get to know the person and kind of see what they're, because
Mm-hmm.
I can see very quickly as I do a tour, of kind of what are their tendencies. I tell them, say, don't clean up before I come. I'd like to
Uh-huh.
see your pain. And so I can
That's
kind of see the
oh, that's
pain
beautiful.
points. Yeah, I
Yeah.
can see the pain points when I come. And also, one thing I've also learned is a bookshelf tells me a lot about a person.
Mm,
When you look at their books, it's really interesting to see, what I can see some of their core values often on,
hmm.
that shelf. Often my clients have a row of organizing books. No, and that tells me
Hmm.
they've been desiring organizing for a
Mm,
long time and have maybe struggled with it, and that's why they have lots of self-help. So that's
yeah.
a really interesting way too to
Mm,
get to know the person again so that we can custom make what the plan is for each person because it's different.
hmm.
Everybody's system of organization is slightly different. Yes,
Yeah.
there are patterns that I would see over and over, but there's different quirks and that's the fun. That's the discovery of this career,
Hmm.
which is a lot
Hmm.
of fun.
I'd love to, in a moment, have you share some maybe kind of general tips that if people were listening and they just wanted to even get started, maybe
Yes.
where they could go. I know you guys have some nice, simple things to like kind of a foundation.
Yes.
Before we go there, what is something that you have had the most difficulty organizing for yourself?
For myself,
Hmm.
that's a good question. I would say probably the most difficult for me personally would be photos.
Okay. Yes, that's a
So
good one.
the
Hmm.
whole the whole switch over of, my growing up and into our dating life and early marriage was all printing out the photos and bringing them home, and then the whole switch over to digital, and also
Hmm.
to complicate things in there, I did a lot of scrapbooking.
Yes.
And
Same,
so,
same, same, same.
yes, and
Hmm.
so that whole piece of keeping my photos organized, and then, my youngest daughter wondering if we ever took pictures of her. Yes, we did, honey, but they're all on the computer, like, from when they were little, because they would see lots of photos of her older siblings that would be all
Mm.
printed out and scrapbooked and all of those sorts of things. So I always struggle with that because, what am I printing out and what am I not? Do I switch over to the digital scrapbooks? Do I stay with the hands on? So I would say photos has always been kind of that lurky one that I just wish I could set aside a whole month and
Hmm.
just say, this is going to be my project for the entire month and not do anything but, get all my photos organized. And because I am a chronological girl, I really like everything chronological. So all of that sort of thing. So I would say probably out of everything, that would probably be the hardest thing for me.
Hmm. Yeah. That raises a whole bunch of questions about organizing digital.
Yeah.
Like even sometimes for me, keeping my desktop, and I mean my computer
Yes.
desktop,
Yes. Yes.
organized because I am a visual person and yeah, out of sight, out of mind. So even though I would love it to be empty,
Yes.
if I don't have some things there, I'm going to forget about them. So I leave them there. And so I go through this kind of I pattern where it'll fill up and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's chaotic,
Yes.
and then I'll
Yes.
start putting things in folders, moving them, whatever, putting them in the trash. But that's a whole thing
It is.
that
That's another
having
whole
a
animal.
that a
Yes.
system would be really great because I think sometimes people think only about the physical space,
Physical
but
stuff.
really you guys are helping with like mental organization, like how
Yes.
to think about things, how to categorize them. And then, the digital space, and of course, obviously the physical space. There's just lots of layers.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Many
Yeah.
layers.
Yeah. So if somebody, if they're kind of being introduced to this, or, maybe they've watched some of the shows or little bit, but if they wanted to just kind of get started, can you share some tips that
Sure.
kind of apply to almost everybody?
Absolutely. So lots of people ask, where's the best place to get started? I would say start with something that you're not quite as attached to. So first of all, have a meeting with yourself. Am I sentimental? I would not recommend. Some people think, "Oh, I'm going to start with my keepsakes and mementos." Well, that's going to get you bogged down pretty quickly because every item you pick up takes you down memory
Yeah.
lane. You remember where you got it. Yes,
I love this pen. This is my
exactly.
favorite pen. Yeah.
Exactly. So I often say, let's start with some of the peripheral. Like, do you have that drop zone, extra bedroom, of places where things just get kind of dumped in because you don't have a place to put them? Let's
Mm-hmm.
start there, because those are some of the things that you're not really using as much, or else they would be incorporated into your everyday. So I often say, that's a good place to start looking, but don't, like I say, I joke, as a librarian, don't start with your books. Like, pick the thing
Mm-hmm.
that you're not as attached to, because you have to kind of get a momentum of being able to let go and see that life
That's
goes
good.
on.
Mm-hmm.
Life goes on without those items, and then you go, you know what, I'm okay, I can handle
Mm-hmm.
this. So organizing is kind of in layers, but like some of the tips too that I would say, absolutely the key to organizing is that everything needs a home. So that's what your ultimate goal is. So even think about the things that you lose on a regular basis.
Mm-hmm.
That probably means you don't have a designated spot for them to go at the end of the day. So, are they your keys to the car? Like, do you have a consistent spot? Do you need to put a little bowl, on the hallway table that they
Yep.
get dropped into, or do you need a hook somewhere? But are you losing something on a regular basis? Make sure you have a designated spot for those things. Once everything in your home kind of has a home, then the next kind of saying is, don't put it down, put it away. So I know the
Mm-hmm.
tendency, and don't
Yep.
get me wrong, there are days where I come in from work and I dump everything at the front door
Yeah.
because I'm tired or I'm hungry or whatever. So, yes, but everything needs to have a spot. Sometimes it just really takes, you know, 5 or 6 more steps to literally put it away. And
Yeah.
don't make it complicated to put away. If it's complicated for you to put certain things away, those are probably the things that never make it to their home. So, for example, if you have, maybe you think well, I'm super organized, I've got a stack of bins in my basement, but what happens when you want to put something in that bottom bin? If it's not
Mm-hmm.
easy, are you going to take the time to unstack that whole stack to get to that bottom bin? Your tendency is you'll just throw it on top, and then, down
I'll
the
do it
road
later.
you'll get to it. So that's where,
Mm-hmm.
shelving comes into
Mm-hmm.
play, that if your bins can be on shelves, then it's super easy to put away, because you can go right to the bin you need to get to. And then I even say that in the front hall closet, just because a bin has a lid doesn't mean you need to use it. Maybe sometimes that lid is the hindrance of actually getting it away. So I said, just, tuck the lid underneath, and maybe it's easy for you to just throw your pair of mitts into the bin,
Toss
as
it.
opposed
Mm-hmm.
to, yes. So
Mm-hmm.
making things easy to put away. Because if you have to go a
Mm-hmm.
long way to put something away, so really looking at your space, what's your prime real estate, what are the things you're using every day? That goes for your kitchen too. Like, are there things you're using every day? Make them really easy to put away,
Mm-hmm.
so that you don't have to, like, get out the little ladder, because I'm short in my kitchen. I'm not going to put the things that I'm using all the time up high, all of those sorts of things. So
Mm-hmm.
that's a little tip. A really good tip for clothing,
Mm-hmm.
that we tell our clients. So this is super easy. If you don't feel like you have the luxury of time to go through your closet, item by item, what I encourage you, just even today, go into your closet and hang all of your hangers backwards on the bar. Then, as you wear that item, hang them the proper way. And at the end of the season, everything that's hanging backwards, you didn't wear. And you'll be surprised, because we wear 20, what is the saying? I think it's 20% of our clothes 80% of the time.
Uh-huh.
So we have our
Yeah.
go-tos. And
Yes.
so that's a simple tip. And even when it talks about, our comfy clothes, like, I admit I come home and I put on my comfy clothes. So I use hooks.
Mm-hmm.
I keep it
Mm-hmm.
really easy on my bedroom closet. I have hooks. That's where my uniform goes at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where my comfy clothes are hanging, and my pajamas are hanging. And the clothes that I am going to rewear, I don't put them back in the drawer, but I have a home for them. I have them on a hook. And
Yes.
just
Mm.
little things like that. And never leave a room empty handed, never go up
Mm-hmm.
the stairs empty handed. There's
Mm-hmm.
always things that can be going from one floor to another floor. And when I sit down, I'm naturally scanning the room of anything that's shouldn't be there. And when I get up to go wherever, if it's to the bathroom or what, I take stuff with me. Like, and that, just that
Mm-hmm.
little tip in and of itself, if you can get that in your head, it saves a lot of time. And then you don't have to set aside a full Saturday to put
Yeah.
everything back where it needs to go,
Yeah.
because you're doing all of those little things as you go along. One
Mm.
other tip, one of my one of my team members, every time she goes to the bathroom, she takes an extra 30 seconds to wipe something in the bathroom.
Mm.
So
Mm-hmm.
she just like, if she would just like, take a Kleenex and wipe something for 30 seconds, or have a wet wipe or a towel. And so every time she goes to the bathroom, she just wipes something different. And I just
Mm.
thought, wow, like that's just taking 30 seconds,
Yes.
and she's maintaining her bathroom again so that you don't have to do
Uh-huh.
the all day deep scrub.
Yes.
And I'm
Yes.
thinking,
The deep clean.
yes,
Mm-hmm.
like I think that's
Mm-hmm.
just so smart to think of all those
Mm-hmm.
little
Mm-hmm.
things. So, and again,
Yeah.
I could go on forever, and I'm not going to do that. So,
I know. And I'm like, yeah, yeah. What else? What else? It's
yeah,
interesting because some of the things you're talking about, I thought, yep, there's some things I do very well. Like I've learned and developed some habits.
yes,
I absolutely, I'm always taking things, I don't travel around my house empty handed. That's
yes,
one that I've got really good.
yes.
Um, the one you just described, the friend cleaning for 30 seconds, that sounds like a habit stacking idea from Atomic Habits. Have you
Okay.
read that book?
No, I have not.
It's very good. Like,
Okay.
I think you'd love it because it's
Yes.
practical.
Okay. And I love that.
So, yeah. And even though I probably knew a lot of the things he has, I don't know, he has more. And the way he explains and describes things is just excellent. Like, I think you would just love
Okay.
his brain, you know, just the way he
Cool.
works.
I will
So
look
yes,
into
so
it.
he describes habit stacking. So, obviously you go to the bathroom, like that's something you do. You don't have to make yourself go to the bathroom. So
Yes.
if you can then put a habit and kind of attach it to something you're already doing,
Yes.
you're way more likely to do that thing because you're already doing the other thing. So
Yes.
for me, for example, I take my vitamins and supplements with my brunch
Okay.
because I have this natural association, right? So I'm
Yes.
like, oh, I'm already doing this. Oh, yeah, there's this other part of what I do. When I tried to just remember to take them, right, I wouldn't remember.
Yes.
So that's another
That's
thing that can
great.
go well with organization is the idea of habit stacking. So when you do this thing, if you add one little thing on and practice it together,
Yes.
it's more likely to like stick.
I love that.
So yeah, really, really good. It's so exciting. I know. Where do we want to go? We could just get into like the nitty gritty. Oh, I did have a question. This is kind of looping back to something
Yes.
earlier. It's top of mind because right now a colleague has a listing and the person had hoarding behavior. Um, And I wondered if you have had to deal with those kind of situations. Like, have you had clients at that level, and can you help them through?
Yes. So, yes, I'm here to witness that, yes, there are situations where hoarding can happen. Um, Again, in my learning over the 20 years, the more I'm in this, the more I realize there is to learn about
Mm-hmm.
hoarding disorder. So now they have actually added it to the diagnostic manual, which means it is a mental illness. And so for me, I think it's really, really important in those situations that if somebody would call me, that the client is working with a counselor or a
Mm.
psychologist, because what I would be dealing with would just be surface level. And just
Right. Mm-hmm.
tying in with
Mm-hmm.
my name of my business, heart of the matter, it's really important in those situations for people to realize the deep down reason of why, because I've definitely had situations where I've been called in and we have helped, but if they don't get to the core of why, and I'll be very honest, often it is stacked on a traumatic event in their life that has caused this. If they don't deal with that, I feel guilty in charging for my services, because they will pay this money out, and then in a matter of months it will return to what it was previously. So to be honest, I've done some situations. Some of those projects have worked, and others haven't.
Mm-hmm.
Coming to realize that big team working on that is really difficult, because the client wants to be able to see everything that's going on. And so to
Mm-hmm.
have like a whole huge team in all the different rooms is very anxiety provoking, and I don't want
Mm-hmm.
that.
Mm-hmm.
So over the years, I have come to realize that again, I scaled my business back some so my business partner retired, and so
I
I
didn't
scaled.
know that.
You didn't know
Okay.
that?
I didn't know
Yes,
that. Okay.
yeah.
I'm
So
super out of the
Donna,
loop.
no,
Okay.
that's okay. So
Mm-hmm.
Donna retired and moved to Ottawa. So she
Oh,
actually doesn't live in
goodness.
the yes to live closer to her
Oh,
daughter.
yeah. Nice.
So
Nice.
so um, when she retired, I kind of scaled back in that I didn't have as much of a big team to go out, and
Mm.
so lots
Mm-hmm.
of these situations when I come across them now, I don't feel like I'm as equipped because I don't have a huge team. I have team members that come in for some of our projects, but it is a bigger scale, longer time commitment type of project. So honestly, now I am referring
Mm.
those really big jobs on
Yep.
to Halo. So it's a home and life. It represents home and life organizers, and she is a social worker, and she has a whole team, and she's better equipped. Like they have like hazmat um, equipment if they need to use that in some of those situations. So really, in the last, I would say 5 years, I've been mainly referring those kind of projects on. Um, because again, I don't want to take money unless I know that they're dealing with the
Mm.
emotional part of
Of
it.
course.
And
Mm-hmm.
in some cases, I feel really bad in saying this, but it's almost easier to wait until the person has passed away and deal with some of the things than to bully and force them, because I'm not a bully, and that's not something I like to do. So I wouldn't go into a situation and make decisions on their behalf and take
Right.
away stuff that they haven't okayed me to take away. So
Right.
that's where
Yeah.
I struggle, because I
Uh-huh.
I am a sentimental person, so I'm not going to make assumptions that that little piece of paper with scribbling on it isn't the last thing you received from your great aunt Mary who passed away 10 years ago. So I'm not going to make an assumption to throw that in the garbage. And so that amplifies when it comes to
Mm-hmm.
a hoarding
Mm-hmm.
situation, that I
Yeah.
feel like that needs to be handled with respect and with someone who really knows what they're doing. And I don't feel like I have all the credentials for that. There is an organization that helps. It's the organization for chronic disorganization, and so it's equipping, and you can take courses in that. And I would much rather refer those kind of jobs to somebody who knows the psychological piece of it,
Mm-hmm.
because we're a whole person, and
Yeah.
what's going on in the outside is often reflecting of something going on in the inside. And I'm not going to
Yes.
dismiss that there is pain, that there is trauma, there's
Mm-hmm.
need of counseling, there is a myriad of things going on, and I want to respect the person to allow them to make the decision whether or not they feel like they can let go of some
Mm-hmm.
things.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that circles even right back to this idea of, you go in and you're kind of observing and evaluating what's going on here,
Yes,
right? Is
yes.
this just that somebody doesn't have the skills and techniques, or are we talking about something different here, right?
Absolutely. And Julie Morgenstern touches on
Mm-hmm.
that in the book that
Mm.
you had mentioned,
Yep.
Organizing from the
Yep.
Inside Out. There's
Mm-hmm.
3 levels of
Mm.
disorganization, and it goes from surface level, not having enough, storage space, not having the right containers, whatever, to the deeper and to the psychological reasons. And that's
Yeah.
what I want people to be aware of. And there's been lots of clients where I've handed out some of Julie Morgenstern's
Mm-hmm.
so that they can go through and identify, why am I doing this? Is it,
Mm-hmm.
the fear of lack, the fear of not having enough? Am I hiding behind, my stuff literally?
Mm-hmm.
All of those sorts of things. So there is lots of deeper level. And I
Mm-hmm.
think it's really important for people to get to the heart of the matter, to figure what that
Yes.
out so that they are
Yes.
successful and are able to, turn a corner and to get organized.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, is there anything new? Is there anything upcoming? Is there anything that you're like excited about looking into the future with your business?
I so when Donna retired, I kind of had a crossroads. Do I go back to teaching?
Hmm.
Do I continue with organizing? Do I find a whole new occupation? And that ties in with your question. I love my job because it's ever changing. Like,
Hmm.
I meet the most wonderful people, and God brings the people into my life that He wants for such a time as this. Lots of clients become friends. I have lots of clients over the years that have become very dear friends of mine.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it's a vehicle into people's lives. So my job is ever changing. And that's what I like about it. I was sitting there going, well, do I give this? I can't imagine my life without organizing. Like,
Hmm.
organizing brings me joy still after all these years. I still get excited. Yesterday, I was I was helping a lady, and we were putting her bedroom all back together because she got new carpet and everything. And like, I was just buzzing. And then all of a sudden, when I looked at the phone and saw that, oh my goodness, I have to go. Like, this is the
Yeah.
end of the session. I was sad. I was
Yeah.
disappointed because
So
I was having
great.
so much fun finding homes
Yeah.
for everything. Like, we were literally,
Yeah.
like, she got new furniture, and we were literally finding homes for
Mm.
everything. And it's just so satisfying. And
Hmm.
so what's upcoming for me, nothing in particular that's
Hmm.
wild and crazy, but I love the new people that I meet, and I'm meeting new people every day. And it's cool. God just brings the people that are supposed to be in my life, and so my life is ever changing because I have all these people to,
Yeah.
meet and work with and become friends with. So,
Love
yeah.
it. Love it. I do have some rapid fire questions that I want to
Okay.
ask for
Yep.
fun. But before we go there, is there anything that you think we didn't touch on that you want to share, talk about?
No, I think we covered, like, we touched on the practical piece, but then also talking about the emotional piece,
Hmm.
and for people to have that meeting with themselves. Is this worth me being overwhelmed all the time to have all this stuff? Or, because I always say life is simpler with less stuff. And so it's always weighing that on a scale of going, well, you've invited me in because you're obviously feeling overwhelmed and you have too much. And is it worth being ready to release all those things for you
Hmm.
to live a simpler and easier life? And so always looking at that challenge, because I always say, think of it that you're blessing somebody else. The things that you're getting rid of,
Yes.
you're blessing someone else. Somebody out there is praying for that item at a thrift store, and you're going to be the
Yeah.
one that's
Yeah.
providing that. And
Yeah.
that's exciting. And I always tell them, I believe in sowing and reaping. And if you're blessing somebody else, that blessing will
Hmm.
come back. And
Yeah.
and so to really get people to change their mindset, because we live in a world that holds on to things so
Hmm.
dearly.
Yes.
And I
Hmm.
also, the other thing that I joke about is we spend the first 50 years of our life accumulating stuff,
Hmm.
and we spend the last 50 years of our life getting rid of it all.
Hmm.
And isn't that the truth? All of a sudden
Hmm.
that goes ding, ding, ding. Like, why am I spending money to
Hmm.
accumulate all this stuff now?
Hmm.
Whereas I have all these clients that are, 50 and above, even 40 and above, that are
Huh.
trying to just get rid of stuff because they have too much stuff.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that really helps kind of change the mindset again. And,
Hmm.
God will provide, and if we need those things, there'll be a way. And I don't know, I just get excited about all of these kinds of things, and just realizing that we don't have to hold on so tight to stuff. It's all about relationship, and it's all about people.
Hmm. Hmm. I know one little thing that I even figured out was sometimes I'll have something that's sentimental, but it's in storage. Like, I'm like, how much do you care about that thing, Wendy? It's been in the closet for 10 years. And then I thought, take a picture of it.
Yes.
Right? So like that
Yes.
happened with some things from my nana, right? She gave us
Okay.
things and whatever they antiques, different things. And I had a bunch of them. And I thought, one, you don't need like 20 things to remember Nana.
We're
And also
frozen.
that's not really what you're remembering. But I thought if I was worried about the thing, take a picture of it. I'm not using it anyway. So just then you can remember the thing, you can remember her, but it's not taking up space.
now. So
No problem. Like this is life. Life happens and the internet cuts out sometimes and technology happens. So yeah. I just wanted the chance to be able to obviously kind of wrap this up. I wanted to get to the rapid fire questions and also give people the chance to know how to get in contact with you. So
okay,
let's do that, and then if we have any other issues, we'll make sure it's all captured. All right, are you ready?
ready.
Okay, morning person or night owl?
Night owl.
Oh, that surprised me. I would have thought you'd be a morning person. That would be I would be assuming, oh, somebody who's in organized and everything, they're going to be a morning person.
Yeah, I
Oh.
would say night owl, but my husband is not at all. So he's kind of shifted me over the years to be more of a morning person. But if I can sleep in a little longer, that's what
Mm,
I would like to do.
very nice. I like it. If you could teleport anywhere right now, where would you go?
Australia.
Ooh, just because?
Yes, that's the
Okay.
place that I've wanted to go my whole life. So I'm
Mm.
determined I will get there someday.
Oh, I believe you will. Yes. What's a book, podcast, or movie that you'd recommend?
Hmm. Oh, that's really one of my favorite books. I'm looking at my bookshelf right now because I rate my books after I read them. So
Oh,
one of
very
my
good.
favorite, and this is just a fiction, but it's Bright as Heaven. Sorry, nonfiction. Bright as Heaven by Susan Messner. I
Mm.
loved that book.
Mm.
So
Hmm. Okay, great. Okay, if you weren't in your current profession, what's a job you'd love to try?
right away, before you said the try part, I was going back
Hmm.
to teaching,
Uh-huh.
thinking that I would do teaching. Something that I would like to try. Hmm. Administrative assistant.
Okay. Hmm. I can see that. That's not a stretch, but it would be
Yes.
something different, using your
Yes.
skills in a different way. And finally, what's a motto or mantra you live by?
Don't put it down, put it away.
Yeah, yeah. So good. So
Yeah.
good. When you said it earlier, it reminded me, I think it's Gretchen Rubin. I heard her on a podcast, I think. Pretty sure
Okay.
it was her. Talk about if something takes under a minute, just do it. Like
Yes.
she has this rule for herself.
Yes.
Longer, maybe you do put it off, right? Or not necessarily, but I mean, the rule is, yeah, is this going to take me under a minute? Just do it. So putting your shoes away, doing that. And I thought, oh, I
That's
really
true.
like that one. That's a good one because it also puts it into context that this isn't a big thing and
Yeah.
then it's done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Sometimes
So.
it's to get over that mind thought. Oh, this is going to take forever. Yeah.
Right. Or it's going to take 20 seconds. Yeah. Okay. And finally, so if people have been listening or watching and they want to know how to reach out to you, what's the best place for them to get in contact with you?
I would say probably through the website would be the easiest. It's heartofthematter.ca. And then on there is a contact form that you can kind of type in who you are and what you're looking. I think that's
Mm-hmm.
probably the best.
Okay.
I do have a telephone number, but to be honest, email is much more convenient for me at
Mm-hmm.
the end of a day.
Sure.
So yeah, I would say the best way would be emailing me at either info@heartofthematter.ca or
Mm-hmm.
contacting me through the website.
Okay. Are you on socials at all? Do you post any pictures or
I
anything or
I
just
post
dabble?
when Donna retired, she was the
Mm-hmm.
one that kind of kept up all the socials. I
Gotcha.
don't do a
Mm-hmm.
lot of socials. I do
Mm-hmm.
have an Instagram. I don't post a whole lot. I
Mm-hmm.
do have Facebook, but I don't post a lot. We did have Twitter. I don't even go on Twitter, so I wouldn't recommend that. That's a
Mm-hmm.
way to
Yeah.
connect.
Don't try and reach out there.
But you
Mm-hmm.
can connect with me through Instagram or Heart of the Matter if that would be what you would prefer. But I do admit that I don't
Yeah,
post a
just
lot.
be warned. You're pre-warning people. It might not be as fast that you're
Yes,
going to respond. Okay.
yes,
Well, oh my goodness, what a delight. And the time flew,
it
which is an
did.
indicator of, in my mind, like enjoyment, right? Like I loved the conversation. There's so much more we could talk about. I love your passion
Thank you.
and your heart. Like your business is named so well. It really is because there's a lot of heart there. Yeah. And you really do help people get to like the heart of the matter, the core issue, which is just fantastic.
Oh, thank
So
you.
thanks for carving time out of your schedule. Much
Absolutely.
appreciated. And let's do a better job of staying in touch.
Sounds great.